If a man says these 5 things to you, even once, listen carefully, because words reveal the truth long before actions do. And if you don't recognize these red flags, you might just hand your heart to someone who doesn't deserve it. Words reveal intentions long before actions do, and most people never realize how much power those words carry until it's too late. Think about it. Every sentence, every phrase, every offhand remark carries a clue. People often tell you who they are without even realizing it. They show you what they value, how they think, and most importantly, how they see you. The problem is we're often so distracted by what we want to hear that we ignore what we're actually being told. That's where the danger begins. When someone speaks, they reveal the blueprint of their character. A man who respects you won't say things that tear you down. A man who doesn't care will. It's in the subtle digs disguised as jokes, the dismissive comments brushed off with, "you're overreacting," or the passive-aggressive remarks that leave you questioning your worth. Those aren't just words, they're red flags wrapped in conversation. And here's the truth: actions often take time to unfold, but words, they're immediate. They're the early warning signs that tell you whether to lean in or walk away. Listening closely to someone's language requires intention. It's not just about hearing what they say, but about observing the patterns. Does he consistently belittle your emotions? Does he make you feel like you're lucky to be in his presence? Does he casually throw out comments that erode your confidence? These aren't random slips. They're windows into a mindset that will eventually show up in bigger, more harmful ways. Respectful, loving men don't talk down to you. They don't minimize your feelings. They don't turn your insecurities into punchlines. What makes words so powerful is that they bypass excuses. Someone can fake their actions for a while, bring flowers, say the right things in public, play the role they think you want them to play, but they can't maintain that mask forever in conversation. When people speak without a filter, that's when you see the truth. And once you hear that truth, you have a choice: either ignore it and pay the price later, or recognize it and protect yourself early. Often, people stay because they convince themselves that words don't mean much. He didn't mean it. He was just stressed. He was joking. But every time you excuse disrespect, you teach the other person that it's acceptable. What starts as a comment can quickly evolve into a pattern, and what begins as emotional dismissal can grow into full-blown manipulation. The sooner you recognize the language of disrespect, the sooner you can set boundaries that protect your peace. There's also a flip side to this. Words reveal positive intentions too. A man who truly values you will speak in ways that build you up, not tear you down. He'll make you feel safe in conversation. He'll validate your emotions, not mock them. He'll communicate openly, even when it's hard, because respect is not selective. It shows up in every sentence, every tone, every pause. Healthy words come from a healthy mindset, and when you pay attention, you'll notice the difference immediately. The real challenge is learning to listen with clarity instead of emotion. Sometimes our desire for connection is so strong that we convince ourselves we misheard or misunderstood. But deep down, you always know when something isn't right. That uneasy feeling in your gut when someone says something cruel or dismissive, that's your intuition telling you to pay attention. Ignoring it doesn't make the reality disappear. It just delays the inevitable. So here's the truth. If you want to protect yourself, start valuing words for what they are: early warnings, quiet signals, sometimes even loud alarms. Listen when someone shows you their intentions through their language. Believe them the first time, not the fifth. Because when you start honoring what you hear instead of what you hope, you won't just protect your heart, you'll protect your future. Emotional dismissal is the first sign of manipulation, and most people don't even recognize it when it happens. It often starts small, so subtle that you second guess yourself. You share how you feel, and instead of being heard, you're told you're overreacting, being dramatic, or that it's all in your head. In that moment, something dangerous happens. You stop trusting your own emotions and start believing theirs. That is exactly how manipulation takes root. When someone dismisses your emotions, what they're really doing is planting doubt in your mind. They want you to question your reactions, your instincts, and even your reality. The phrase, "you're too sensitive," or "you're imagining things," might sound harmless at first, but over time, chips away at your confidence. You begin to think twice before expressing yourself, afraid that you'll be judged or belittled. And that silence is exactly what a manipulator needs to gain control. Healthy people do not dismiss emotions, they validate them, even if they don't fully understand them. When someone cares about you, they listen with empathy. They don't make you feel crazy for feeling what you feel. Manipulators, however, thrive on control, and the easiest way to gain control over someone is to make them question themselves. Once you're unsure of your own emotions, you become easier to sway, easier to convince, and easier to keep in situations that are unhealthy or even dangerous. The pattern of emotional dismissal often escalates. It starts with little comments, maybe a sarcastic joke or a shrug when you try to express your needs. Then it grows, the tone sharpens, the comments get colder, and eventually you stop bringing up how you feel at all. By then, the manipulator doesn't even have to silence you. You've learned to silence yourself. And when you no longer speak up, that's when the control becomes complete. This is why it's so important to recognize dismissal early and call it out. The moment someone tries to make you feel small for sharing your truth, understand what's happening. That isn't love. That isn't care. That's control disguised as conversation. And no matter how much you care about that person, you can't heal in a space where your emotions aren't respected. Sometimes the dismissal is masked as logic. They'll say things like, "You're blowing things out of proportion," or "I didn't mean it that way, you're just taking it wrong." Those statements are designed to make you doubt your perception. But your feelings are not up for debate. They are your reality, and they deserve to be acknowledged. Someone who loves you will take the time to understand where you're coming from, even if they don't see it the same way. The truth is, emotional dismissal is rarely about you. It's about them, their need for power, their discomfort with vulnerability, or their fear of accountability. By refusing to engage with your emotions honestly, they keep the focus away from their own behavior. It's a deflection, a way to maintain control without having to take responsibility. If you want to protect your peace, you have to set boundaries the moment you feel dismissed. Say it clearly, "I need to be heard, not minimized." If the dismissal continues, understand that you're not in a safe space for emotional connection. Walking away isn't weakness, it's strength. It's choosing self-respect over someone else's comfort. The sooner you recognize emotional dismissal for what it is, the first quiet step toward manipulation, the sooner you can stop it from growing into something worse. Your emotions are valid, your experiences are real, and anyone who truly cares about you will never make you question that. Confidence never belittles. Insecurity does. True confidence is quiet, steady, and secure. It doesn't need to tear someone down to feel taller. It doesn't need to point out flaws to feel flawless. When someone is genuinely confident, their presence makes you feel safe, valued, and respected. But insecurity wears the mask of confidence while using words and actions as weapons to control or demean others. The difference between the two is subtle but undeniable. A confident person doesn't feel threatened by your strengths. They celebrate them. They don't compete with you. They collaborate. When you share your achievements or express your ideas, they listen with pride, not jealousy. Insecurity, on the other hand, always feels the need to be the loudest voice in the room. It interrupts, dismisses, and mocks because deep down it fears being overshadowed. That fear fuels belittlement. Think about the last time someone tried to make you feel small. Maybe it was a cutting joke delivered with a smile, a passive-aggressive comment about your goals, or an attempt to undermine your confidence in front of others. That wasn't strength. That was insecurity looking for validation by making you doubt yourself. People who are truly secure don't operate that way. They understand that tearing someone down doesn't build them up. It just exposes their own cracks. Confidence is calm. It doesn't need to prove anything to anyone because it already knows its value. It shows up in actions rather than words, in the way someone supports you when you need it, in the way they listen without judgment, and in the way they make space for others without feeling smaller themselves. Confident people are comfortable lifting others because they understand that someone else's success isn't their failure. Insecurity, however, thrives on comparison. It turns every interaction into a competition and every conversation into a stage for validation. It can look like arrogance, but arrogance is just fear dressed up as pride. That's why insecure people often belittle. It's their way of distracting from their own feelings of inadequacy. By pointing out your flaws, they hope you won't notice theirs. One of the most dangerous traps in relationships, whether personal or professional, is mistaking insecurity for confidence. It's easy to get fooled by someone who talks a big game, who dominates conversations, or who carries themselves with bravado. But if you look closely, their words will tell you the truth. Confidence speaks with respect, insecurity speaks with ridicule. Confidence empowers, insecurity controls. When you understand this, you stop taking the belittling personally. Their words stop cutting as deeply because you recognize the source, their insecurity, not your worth. And that awareness gives you power. You start to surround yourself with people who inspire you instead of those who drain you. You learn to set boundaries with anyone who makes you feel small because you realize that real confidence doesn't require anyone to shrink to make room for it. If you want to know whether someone is truly confident, pay attention to how they treat people who can't offer them anything in return. Confidence shows kindness in private, not just in public. It respects everyone, from the CEO to the janitor, because it doesn't need to rank people to feel important. Insecurity, by contrast, plays favorites, using people when it's convenient and discarding them when it's not. The truth is, we all have moments of insecurity, but the difference lies in how we handle them. Confident people confront their insecurities without projecting them onto others. Insecure people avoid that work and instead make others carry the weight of their fear. The more you grow in your own confidence, the easier it becomes to spot the difference and to protect your peace when someone tries to belittle you. Cruelty disguised as honesty is still cruelty, no matter how gently it's wrapped or how convincingly it's delivered. People often hide behind the phrase, "I'm just being honest," as if those words erase the damage they cause. But honesty without kindness isn't bravery, it's brutality. And too many people confuse cruelty with strength because they've never learned that the power of truth lies in how it's delivered, not just in the words themselves. When someone uses honesty as a shield, their intention isn't to help you grow, it's to cut you down while avoiding accountability. They want to say whatever they want without facing the consequences of their words. "I'm just being honest" becomes their excuse, their permission slip to wound you while pretending they're doing you a favor. But the reality is, words can either build bridges or burn them to the ground. When truth is shared without compassion, it stops being constructive and becomes destructive. True honesty doesn't need to humiliate or belittle. If someone genuinely cares about you, they won't weaponize the truth. They'll speak in a way that uplifts you, even when what they have to say is difficult to hear. They understand that timing, tone, and intention matter. Saying, "I care about you, and here's what I've noticed," is worlds apart from, "You're a mess, and everyone knows it." One invites understanding and growth, the other breeds shame and resentment. Cruel honesty often shows up in subtle ways. It's in the comment about your appearance that leaves you feeling insecure. It's in the remark about your dreams that makes you question your abilities. It's in the so-called joke that lands like an insult but gets brushed off with a laugh and a casual, "I'm just telling the truth." These moments chip away at your confidence. And over time, you begin to doubt yourself, even when you know you shouldn't. The danger of cruelty disguised as honesty is that it teaches you to accept disrespect as something you need to hear. You start to think that maybe you're too sensitive, that maybe the problem is you, but it's not you. It's the delivery. There's a way to share hard truths without stripping someone of their dignity, and people with emotional maturity know that, Those who don't or won't are choosing to hurt rather than to help. Being honest doesn't mean being harsh. It means being real, but also being mindful. True honesty requires empathy, the ability to see how your words will land and the willingness to deliver them with care. It's entirely possible to tell someone they need to change something while still honoring their humanity. That's what separates healthy honesty from cruel honesty. Intention and compassion. If you ever find yourself on the receiving end of this kind of disguised cruelty, remember this: you don't have to accept it. Someone's lack of kindness isn't your burden to carry. You have the right to set boundaries, to say, I appreciate honesty, but I won't accept disrespect. Protecting yourself from harmful words isn't weakness, it's self-respect. And if you want to build better relationships, be the kind of person who delivers honesty with grace. Choose words that heal rather than harm, that guide rather than cut. Because when honesty is grounded in kindness, it becomes a tool for growth. But when it's rooted in cruelty, it stops being honesty at all. It's just another form of control dressed up as truth. Love never feels like obligation or debt because real love is given freely without keeping score. When someone truly loves you, their actions don't come with strings attached or invisible ledgers keeping track of what they've done for you. Love is not a transaction. It's a choice made over and over with no expectation of repayment. The moment it starts feeling like you owe someone for their affection, stops being love and becomes control. Too often, people confuse love with sacrifice that demands recognition. They stay in relationships where every gesture is used as leverage. Look at everything I've done for you, or you owe me for staying by your side. But genuine love doesn't talk like that. It doesn't hang past kindness over your head to manipulate your present or dictate your future. True love gives because it wants to, not because it expects something in return. When love is healthy, it feels light. There's no pressure to constantly prove your worth. No silent fear that your value depends on how much you give back. You can be yourself, imperfect, flawed, and growing without the constant weight of feeling indebted. That's because healthy love understands that relationships are built on mutual care and respect, not power imbalances or emotional debt. Manipulation often disguises itself as devotion. Someone will do something for you, then quietly or loudly remind you of it every time they want something in return. It's a subtle but toxic form of control. They make you feel like their love is conditional, like you have to earn it to keep it. But love that is conditional isn't love, it's a contract. And in a contract like that, you'll never truly be free because you'll always feel like you have to pay for affection that should have been given without terms. True love allows space for gratitude, but gratitude is different from obligation. Gratitude says, thank you for loving me, for showing up, for being here. Obligation says, I have to stay because of what you've done, even if I'm hurting. Gratitude grows connection. Obligation breeds resentment. One deepens love, the other slowly suffocates it. Real love doesn't keep score because it understands that relationships thrive on balance, not competition. When someone loves you, they don't need to constantly remind you of what they've given. Their presence, their care, and their effort speak louder than words. And because they know their love is unconditional, they never need to control you with guilt. They want you to choose them freely, not because you feel trapped, but because you feel valued. If you've ever been in a space where love felt like a debt, you know how exhausting it is. You find yourself walking on eggshells, measuring your actions, trying to keep up with the invisible expectations that come with everything they've done for you. But love that's real doesn't ask you to carry that weight. It lets you breathe. It creates room for joy, growth, and mutual support without fear of losing it if you stumble or fall short. The truth is, love is only love when it's rooted in freedom. Freedom to choose to stay, to walk away if needed, and freedom to give without expecting repayment. That's the beauty of real connection. It's not about keeping balance sheets. It's about building something together with trust and respect. When you understand this, you stop settling for relationships where love is used as currency. You start to recognize the difference between someone who loves you and someone who wants to own you. And you realize that the greatest kind of love is the one that never makes you feel like you're in debt, only like you're home. Gaslighting often starts subtly but grows louder over time. And that's what makes it so dangerous. It doesn't begin with blatant lies or obvious manipulation. It begins quietly in the smallest moments, a casual dismissal of your feelings, a subtle twist of your words, a harmless joke that makes you second guess yourself. At first, you brush it off. You tell yourself you're imagining it, that maybe you're just being too sensitive, and that's exactly how gaslighting takes root. In doubt, in confusion, in silence. The manipulator knows they can't control you all at once. They start small, testing the waters, seeing how much they can push without you noticing. They question your memory. That's not what I said, or you must be remembering it wrong. They undermine your instincts. You're overthinking this, or you always make things bigger than they are. These little statements plant seeds of uncertainty, and over time, those seeds grow into something much darker, a reality where you stop trusting yourself. By the time gaslighting becomes loud and undeniable, it's because you've already been conditioned to question your own judgment. You start to depend on the very person manipulating you for clarity, believing they're the only one who can tell you what's real. And that's the trap. The more you doubt yourself, the easier it becomes for them to rewrite your reality. What began as small corrections turns into bold lies. What started as you're imagining things becomes you're crazy and no one will believe you. The progression of gaslighting is gradual, and that's why so many people stay trapped in it. It doesn't feel like manipulation in the beginning. It feels like love mixed with a little confusion, like maybe you're just misunderstanding each other. But manipulation wrapped in affection is still manipulation. The kindness they show between the gaslighting episodes makes you question whether you're overreacting, keeping you stuck in a cycle of hope and self-doubt. The effects of gaslighting run deep. You lose confidence in your thoughts, your emotions, your decisions. You hesitate to speak up because you fear being wrong or misunderstood. You apologize for things you didn't do just to keep the peace. Slowly start to disappear inside yourself, trading your voice for the illusion of harmony. That's when gaslighting has done its worst damage, when you no longer trust your own mind. Recognizing the early signs is the key to protecting yourself. Pay attention when someone constantly makes you feel confused or guilty for expressing your feelings. Notice when they twist your words, rewrite history, or make you question things you know are true. Those moments aren't harmless, they're warnings. Healthy communication doesn't make you doubt your sanity. It brings clarity even in conflict. Breaking free from gaslighting begins with reclaiming your reality. Start by trusting your instincts again. Document what's happening, your words, their words, the events as they actually occur. Reach out to someone you trust, someone who can remind you of what's real when your confidence is shaken. The louder the gaslighting becomes, the more important it is to have a voice outside the manipulation reminding you of your truth. Gaslighting thrives in silence and isolation, but it loses power when you recognize it for what it is. The moment you stop internalizing their lies and start setting boundaries, the dynamic begins to shift. It's not easy. Manipulators don't like losing control, but choosing yourself over their distorted reality is the first step toward freedom. The truth is, love and respect never require you to doubt your sanity. Real connection builds trust, it doesn't break it. When someone's words consistently make you question your worth or your memory, it's not love, it's control. And the sooner you see it, the sooner you can walk away and rebuild the trust that matters most, the trust you have in yourself. Protecting your peace is more important than saving a broken relationship, because no connection, no matter how much history or love it carries, is worth the cost of your mental, emotional, or spiritual well-being. Too often, people stay in relationships that drain them because they believe that holding on is the same as being loyal. They convince themselves that if they just try harder, give more, or wait long enough, things will magically fix themselves. But here's the truth. Some relationships are not meant to be saved, and clinging to them only breaks you further. Peace is priceless. It's the foundation of clarity, self-respect, and emotional health. When you're in a broken relationship, you feel that peace slipping away little by little. You notice it in the constant anxiety before every conversation, in the way your stomach knots when their name appears on your phone, or in how you're always second guessing your words and actions just to keep the situation calm. That is not love. That is survival, and you deserve more than simply surviving. Trying to save a broken relationship often comes from a place of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of starting over, fear of what people will think. But fear is a terrible reason to stay where you are not valued. Healthy love doesn't require you to lose yourself to keep someone else. It doesn't demand that you silence your needs, ignore your boundaries, or accept pain as part of the package. If staying means sacrificing your peace, then walking away isn't failure. It's freedom. It's important to understand that protecting your peace doesn't mean you never loved deeply or didn't try enough. It means you finally recognize that your mental and emotional health cannot be the price you pay for someone else's growth or healing. You can love someone and still choose yourself. You can care about their being while also acknowledging that their chaos is destroying yours. That's not selfishness. That's self-respect. There is also power in realizing that you can't fix someone who doesn't want to be fixed. No amount of loyalty, patience, or sacrifice can change someone who is committed to staying the same. And staying in that environment only keeps you trapped in a cycle of disappointment. Protecting your peace means setting boundaries, saying no when you need to, and walking away when the situation no longer aligns with your growth or your happiness. Leaving a broken relationship is hard because it often means grieving the version of the relationship you thought you had or the person you hoped they would become. But clinging to what used to be or what you wish could be only keeps you stuck in pain. Healing starts when you accept reality for what it is, when you stop trying to fix the unfixable and start building a life where peace isn't negotiable. Over time, you begin to understand that peace is the real measure of love. Love should bring calm, not chaos. It should feel safe, not suffocating. When you choose peace, you create space for better connections, healthier relationships, and a stronger version of yourself. You teach yourself that your value isn't tied to saving someone or proving your worth through suffering. The greatest act of self-love is choosing your well-being over someone else's comfort. Protecting your peace doesn't mean you stop loving. It means you love yourself enough to walk away from what harms you. And in doing so, you open the door to a future where your relationships are rooted in respect, balance, and genuine care. Because at the end of the day, peace isn't something you should have to fight for. It's something that should come naturally when you're in the right place with the right people. Walking away is not weakness, it's self-respect. It's the quiet but powerful act of choosing yourself when a situation, a relationship, or an environment no longer serves your growth, your peace, or your well-being. Society often glorifies endurance, the idea that staying, no matter how toxic or harmful things become, is a sign of strength. But real strength isn't found in how long you can endure pain. It's in recognizing when enough is enough and having the courage to walk away without looking back. Walking away takes more bravery than staying. It means confronting the fear of change, the fear of loneliness, and the fear of judgment. It's standing face to face with uncertainty and saying, I deserve better than this. That's not weakness, that's clarity. Because when you truly know your worth, stop settling for situations that make you question it. There's a misconception that leaving means giving up. But walking away isn't about giving up. It's about letting go of what's breaking you. You can love someone deeply and still recognize that love alone isn't enough to make things healthy. You can be loyal to a job, a friendship, or a relationship and still acknowledge that staying is costing you your peace. Self-respect demands that you prioritize your well-being even when your heart wants to hold on. Often the hardest part of walking away is the noise around you. People will question your decision, criticize your choices, or tell you to stick it out. But those voices don't live your reality. They don't feel the exhaustion, the anxiety, or the emptiness that comes from staying in a space where you are unseen or unvalued. Only you know what it costs to stay, and only you can decide when the cost is too high. Walking away doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you cared enough about yourself to stop pouring into something that gave you nothing in return. It means you recognize that love shouldn't hurt more than it heals, that respect shouldn't be begged for, and that peace is something you don't have to fight to earn. There's an undeniable freedom that comes when you choose yourself. At first, it feels heavy, the grief of what you're leaving behind, the uncertainty of what's ahead. But with time, that heaviness turns into lightness. You begin to rebuild, rediscovering who you are without the weight of what was holding you down. You start to see that walking away wasn't the end of your story, but the beginning of a stronger, clearer chapter. Walking away also teaches you boundaries. It reminds you that your time, energy, and heart are valuable, and that anyone who can't treat them with care doesn't deserve access to them. It teaches you that saying no to what drains you makes space for what nourishes you. And slowly, you realize that protecting yourself, respect isn't selfish, it's essential. The truth is, staying in the wrong place is easy because it's familiar. But walking away, that takes courage. It's an act of faith, faith that you are worthy of something better, faith that peace exists on the other side of pain, and faith that the unknown can hold something greater than the comfort of what you've outgrown. So, the next time you find yourself questioning whether you're strong enough to leave, remember this: walking away doesn't make you weak. It makes you powerful. It means you've stopped settling for less than you deserve and started choosing a life where your self-respect is non-negotiable. And there is nothing stronger than that.